Good afternoon, welcome to GrainTV. My name is Cody Bills. Today is Monday the 20th and we had the market moving higher here for soybeans and wheat, where corn actually traded down on the day. Let's turn over to the grain hedge trading platform and see where we closed off the day. Corn down 2 1/4 cents. Soybeans leading the charge higher here, up 8 1/4, and wheat in Chicago also up higher, 8 1/2 cents here on the day. Now let's talk a little bit about soybeans. We got some news early on in the trade session that China that lowered their reserve requirement down to 18.5% there. Bottom line here is when you lower it that much, when you lower it 100 basis points, the goal is really to kind of jumpstart the economy, increase the liquidity out there. And it looks as though they could increase that liquidity as much as 1,000 yuan, or excuse me, 1 trillion yuan out there. And that puts a little bit of a bid in the soybean market, as China is a major importer of soybeans here. So despite the fact that just because they lowered the reserve requirements doesn't necessarily mean they're going to be out there buying soybeans in the near future, what it does mean is the access to capital may be there. It may free up some borrowing and possibly result in increased sales there. Bottom line here is when you look at soybeans, we did trade higher on the day as a result of that news. And when you look at the daily soybean chart, you'll notice that today we were able to kind of break through that resistance level, that downtrend resistance level that we've had relatively short term. It basically started between February. We had another high there late March. And then, of course, we bumped our head on it just earlier this month. Now we're finally above that trend line. We still have the 50-day moving average above us, right around there, around 983. So keep that in mind. That could be some resistance here when we move into tomorrow's trade session. Let's talk a little bit about weekly export inspections. Today we saw disappointing numbers for soybeans, yet we were still able to hold on to those gains. We saw actual export inspections of 148,000 metric tons. Analysts were expecting between 275 and 425,000 metric tons. Last week we saw 450,000 metric tons. Bottom line, soybeans wasn't very positive this week. Completely different story here for corn and wheat. You'll notice we saw over 1 million metric tons there for corn. We saw 564,000 metric tons there for wheat. Both of them beating analyst expectations here, so that was very positive to see. This afternoon we did get, after the market closed, we got updated crop conditions. You'll notice that the good to excellent rating here for the wheat crop did not change week over week. You'll notice all the categories stayed the same. We did get precipitation over last week. You'd think that would help things out a little bit. We did not see that reflected here in the good to excellent ratings this week, but you can see we are well over where we were last year during this time. Let's take a quick look at what the weather looks like. You'll notice that between Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, we should be seeing more precipitation down there in the plains, the areas that really could use a continued drink there. Very dry conditions up until last week, finally getting some precipitation in there. In the end, though, when you look at the way wheat traded, we started bouncing back here today, and I really think that had a lot to do with the extended directional trade there for well over a week of selling, and I think what we saw here is just a little bit of short covering. Guys, other than that, that wraps up today's show. We could talk a little bit about corn plantings here. You'll notice that they came in around 9% planted. Last year around this time we were around 6%, but really this isn't a major focus at this point. We are still very early on in the season, still very early on during the planting pace, so there's no real major concerns there for the corn market or soybean market. One thing to note is that spring wheat came out with 36% planted here this week compared to 19% on average over the last 4 years. So spring wheat's getting into the ground at a very rapid pace, and that's very positive to see. Guys, thanks a lot for tuning in. If you have anything, any questions you'd like to ask us, give us a call. The number is 877-472-4607. If you are a Grain Hedge customer by any chance and you haven't downloaded that trading application, go ahead and do so, or give me a call or give me an email. I'll make sure you get the download. It is a fantastic application here to monitor price quotes live when you're out in the planter. Thanks a lot for tuning in. We'll see you here on Tuesday.